it's always hard for me to sit here, especially as an owner now, when I was a player. Like if an owner came in and told me, "Hey, JJ, maybe don't jump off sides on that play. We would have had a win." I would have said, "Yeah, no, dumbass." Like you think I wanted to do that? Like that, I wasn't trying to. So for me to tell a defender like, "Hey, that heavy touch that then turned into a turnover, that then turned into an easy goal. Maybe don't do that." Like, yeah, the guy's gonna look at me and say, "Yeah, no." Like, okay.
My guest today is a 3-time NFL Defensive Player of the Year, 5-time All Pro, a defensive end whose name will be typed on the ballot for the NFL Hall of Fame within about, give or take, 3 minutes of being eligible. He retired from football last December after 12 seasons with the Houston Texans and Arizona Cardinals, and has since started to divide his attention between the footballs after becoming co-owner, yes, of Burnley Football Club, quickly accumulating a world record haul of Burnley baseball caps in the process. He's now officially the only Premier League owner to have hosted Saturday Night Live. Your move, Stan Kroenke. It's a delight to welcome back the pride of Pewaukee Pirates. Oh, Mr. JJ Watt.
Oh, thank you very much. What a kind introduction every single time. I appreciate it. Very glad to be here and excited to talk to you. I feel like you're probably excited to talk as well with the way the Toffees are playing lately.
Oh my God. This, when you cut a chicken's head off, JJ, it runs around for a little while before it collapses over, keels over, and perishes. I think that's what we're seeing with Everton
It's
Football Club at the moment.
you
And it's
guys.
magnificent. But you have had an incredible footballing year. Late last December, you announced your retirement from the NFL after 10 seasons with the Houston Texans, where you quickly established yourself as the most terrifying thing in Texas since Anton Chigga's haircut. 2 more years with the mighty Cards. But just months into your retirement, you and your wife, the truly incredible Kalia Watt, formerly of Houston Dash and Chicago Red Stars, announced in May that you would become minority investors in Burnley Football Club. They just earned promotion back to the Premier League after a dominant 101-point season in the Championship, buccaneering football. And I've loved watching you, just evolve into this role, making turnaround trips to Turf Moor, watching every minute of every game when you can't be there in person. JJ, first things first, I've got to ask, as a serious athlete, one of your former teammates described you as, quote, psycho competitor. What's it been like for you to be emotionally invested in games you have no control over, taking place thousands of miles away?
It is equal parts exciting and terrifying. I have no control over anything that happens once the match kicks off. I mean, when I was playing, I could do something about it. I could make a sack. I could get an interception. I could do something to affect the game. Now I sit here either in the executive box or I sit in my couch and I'm watching and I'm just hoping. I mean, you're just sitting there hoping and you're just like, please make this happen. But I have to say that it has truly been an unbelievable experience. I am so deeply and passionately in on this, and I'm all in, and I love it. My wife is probably sick of me talking about it. I mean, we talk tactics all day. We talk the lineup. We talk, what we need to do at the break and at the transfer window. And we are so deep into this thing, and we love it so much that it fills that competitive void. When I retired, I knew that there was going to be this adrenaline rush that was gone. And this gives me every single weekend, I have that adrenaline rush and it fills it. It's so much fun.
I mean, I'm constantly blown away by you. I've got to be candid. We had a coffee in Union Square Park in New York City a couple of weeks ago, and you spent about 25 minutes just going off on one about which wing Luca Koleosho was better on. And I had to just stop us after a minute and just be like, look at this. This is incredible. Just 2 American guys sitting in New York City arguing about the maximum impact of Luca Koleosho of Burnley.
That's how deep into it I am. I know about inverted wings. I know about playing out of the back. I know about, which foot a guy is better on. And obviously Luca is an unbelievable player. He's been incredible for us. And sadly, he picked up a knock and is going to be out for a while, which is very, very difficult. But man, is he an exciting young player. And every time he gets the ball, something is going to happen.
We'll talk more about that, Jen, and go deeper on the Burnley thing. But let's wind the clock back to May this year when you were in Burnley. Even just saying that is just, it's surreal and wonderful. And I'll never take it for granted for the team's open top bus parade when they celebrated successfully bouncing back to the Premier League after one season in the Championship. You held the Championship trophy in your own arms. I love this. You described yourself afterwards as, quote, that kid who doesn't contribute anything to the group project but still gets an A. Take us back there when you got to witness, to experience firsthand what this team, what your team, J&J, meant to the Lancashire faithful, the community. Was that the moment you really understood what you were now part of?
Yeah, I mean, there's certainly a bit of an imposter syndrome at that moment. I mean, we had just started looking into the investment in January or February, and the team was really starting to come along and get towards the top of the table in the championship. And we had been over there. We went over in March, and then we came back in May for the final match and the championship parade and everything. And I remember Alan asked me, he was like, "Hey, you need to take the trophy onto the pitch." And I was like, I do not feel like I should be the one to do that. Like I did nothing here. I just came on board. He's like, no, you have to. And then, the buses came and Ashley Barnes was like, you got to come on the bus with us. And I'm like, guys, like, I don't think you understand. I did nothing here. You guys did it all. But I have to say it was one of the most incredible experiences. It was so much fun to see literally basically every single person of Burnley out in the streets celebrating, wearing the claret and blue, flares going up, driving down Main Strip. Um, just to know what that moment was like and to feel the town and to feel the energy and to see 6, 7, 8-year-old kids singing the songs and chanting "No, nay, never." I mean, that's what it's all about. And if you can't feel the passion in that moment, and if you can't get excited about the possibilities, then you don't have a soul. It was so much fun.
In these early days of this incredible journey, the days before you'd even cut the sleeves off your first Burnley t-shirt to accommodate your fairly intimidating biceps. And honestly, I have to do the same to all my Everton jerseys.
Yes.
Problem is real when every season is bulking season. But enough about me. You reached out to Ryan Reynolds and Rob McElhenney, who'd become the co-owners of Wrexham AFC in November 2020, to talk about what you were getting into. When you reached out to them, what was the most important or the most unexpected thing that you learned from those conversations?
I mean, I think the most important thing always comes back to knowing and understanding the fabric of the town and the history and traditions and respecting and honoring that, because that's what's most important to these supporters, to these towns. Like I always say, these clubs have been here long, long, long before we got here, and they're going to be here long, long after we go. So it's just a matter of doing right by all those people. But the most surprising thing, I mean, I think they tried to tell me ahead of time how anxious and anxiety filled and like you're going to be all in. And I was an athlete, so I was like, yeah, like guys, I
I
know
got this. I
I
got
do
this,
this for a
Jen.
living. Like, yeah, I know. But you don't know because you don't realize how, because you can't control it. And so you're sitting there and I mean, yes, you do have an investment on the line. Like not only are you emotionally and passionately, but you also you got like your literal money on the line. And so you're watching these matches and like I'll watch them with my buddies and they'll come over and they'll put their kits on and they're loving it and they're all in passionate about it. And let's say we lose, they're like, "Oh man, tough one. You'll get them next week." And I'm sitting here like, son of a bitch. Like it's not like a yeah, we'll get them next week. It's like no, we need to get them next week. Like we need to win. And it's just fascinating. It's hard to find people that are as passionate and as excited as you are about it. So obviously, I'm very, very lucky and fortunate that my wife is involved with me. I love talking to Vince. I'll text or call with Vince.
Vincent Company.
Yeah, so there's very few people on the planet that care as deeply about Burnley Football Club outside of the town of Burnley as I do. So it's a lot of fun to be able to talk with those who are.
And, I mean, Burnley is a fascinating place. I grew up not far from there. It is a singular town, and we've talked a lot since you took over. First of all, I was blown away by the depth of time you spent researching the club, immersing yourself in the history, in the fan culture. Let's just say you went pretty deep on the fan Reddit boards, and I'm desperate to talk about what I would love to know what you posted on the Clarets Mad message board. Let's dive into this. You made your first visit to the glorious city in March. You've done a pub crawl from the Royal Dyche to vintage Clarets. You actually took a shift pulling pints behind the bar there, and quickly learned to mix the local cocktail special, the Benet and Hot. Can you describe it for those in America who remain uneducated to its singular delight?
So the Benny and Hot, it comes from the soldiers coming back from World War. You know, they were in France and
First World War.
yes, and they were in the trenches and they wanted to keep themselves warm. It was freezing cold. And so they had Benedictine, which is a liqueur, and they also had hot water. And so they just mixed the two, put them together. And now they had a hot drink that not only warmed them up, but also, boozed them up a little bit. And the Burnley, they brought it back with them from the war, and it kind of just became a Burnley special. And, I always make jokes about it. Like I always, laugh about it. They do spit takes and like it's the grossest drink ever. Like I don't know why people like it. Truthfully, if it is freezing cold outside and it is a dark, a night on match day, I actually do enjoy a nice Benny and Hot.
God, it's an incredible story. This Benedictine, I think there was a regiment right from that area. In those days, they used to have regiments that were geographic. The East Lancashire Regiment, they were hospitalised in the Benedictine distillery. Brought the drink back with them. They thought it was restorative to the Burnley Miners Social Club, which is still to this day the distillery's largest customer, which I just love. And the Benet and
I,
Hot is meant to both heal miners' lung disease. Also, you have never had a horrific hangover till you've had a Benet and Hot hangover.
so you talk about the pub crawl. I've now done it 3 times. I start at the Dyche, I make my way down, and then the
Start
last
at the
stop
Dyche.
the last stop I make before I walk all the way to the stadium is Burnley Miners Club. And the last thing that I get before I go to the game is a Benny Bomb, which is just Red Bull and then Benedictine shot and drop it in just like a Jaeger bomb. But it's a Benny Bomb. So I always make my way down. I go in there, and every crowd at the pub, each pub is a different type of crowd. And like I've now learned, obviously, the different types of Burnley supporters that frequent each pub. And every time I go in there, they have my little Benny bomb ready for me. I take it, and then I walk into the stadium with the rest of the supporters.
My little Benny bomb. This is incredible. This may be the moment that football has become normal in America when JJ Watt's talking about his little Benny bomb. Can you describe the vibe? I am fascinated by the Royal Dyche pub, which I have been to. Just describe the vibe of the pre-game pint to those who haven't been there before. It's magnificent.
Yeah, the Dyche is a very, very small interior. They have a great exterior area, but it is packed to the max. I mean, when I walk in the door, it is literally like you are like this, and you are just shoving your way over.
Yeah, JJ's had room for a small one.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm packing my way in there, and I mean, our supporters, they get going, they get ready for game day, so they're sauced up, and they're obviously very excited. We'll take a couple photographs, but then it's just a bunch of supporters hanging out. They're asking what I think of the lineup for the day. They're asking what I think the score line is going to be, and it's the songs just break out, the chants break out. That's my favorite part about European football is just the culture, the songs, the chants, how it can break out of nowhere and all of a sudden just turn into everybody supporting one thing at the same time. I love it.
You are the kind of gent who I imagine probably doesn't get too nervous in too many situations. But when you made that first trip, JJ, were you
Yeah.
worried about how, or even if you'd be accepted by the local Burnley supporters? Did that Ted Lasso scene of panic where Jason Sudeikis imagines the entire stadium rising up, calling him wanker, wanker, wanker? Was any part of you worried about the reception?
Yes, absolutely. The first time ever, absolutely, we were worried about it because if that's how it should be. You should be worried about it because they care that deeply and they love it that deeply. So they should be extremely skeptical of anybody from the outside coming in and trying to be a part of that. And so it's always been on my mind to make sure that they know that I know how special they have. What they have is so special, in that we're not trying to come here and take it over and act like it's ours and act like I've been here since 1882, because I haven't. I'm just trying to understand it, appreciate it, and help share it with the rest of the world. And I have to say, the Burnley supporters have been just, I mean, truly, truly incredible. And every step of the way, there's been something. When I asked Alan, can I do this? Can I do that? There's been something where he's been just a tiny bit, hesitant. Like the first time I wanted to go to the Royal Dyche, he was like, all right, we got to get a security team to go with you. We got to have somebody. And then I was like, no, like, just let me do it. Like, because I think I appreciate everybody being so protective of me, but I'm like, that gives a different message if you come in with a security team with all these people. I want these supporters to know I trust them. They should trust me. Like we're just one big family. And then I wanted to go into the cricket field stand, which is like, the supporter stand behind the net. And they were like, okay, we gotta figure this out. And I was like, just let me do it, man. Like I think these people are starting to understand, like, I just want to be a part of it. And so last match, I went to the cricket field stand and sat there and watched Jay Rodriguez put it in the back of the net. And it was limbs. It was limbs. And then I also stood there 10 minutes later while West Ham put two past us and we lost 2-1 in the last 5 minutes. And so I had to sit there and take that. But that's what makes it so special is you're doing it with the people. You're there, you're part of it, you're feeling it. They see you going through the same emotions. I mean, they watched my eyes go from excitement to distraughtness. Like that's what makes this thing so special.
From limbs to limbless, and we will talk about that in that emotional swing in 1 second. But when you got to Turf Moor late November, the morning of Burnley's game, the one you just mentioned against West Ham, you said something quite fascinating online, which I really like, because Burnley is a hyper local team. Part of your love of this team, they're very, very visible on social media, raising money for the food banks in Burnley. So much of what you're becoming involved in has grown the team's profile in the United States. And on the morning of that game, you put a post, I think, on Instagram where you ran into a group of, quote, 160 fans of Burnley from Houston, some of them wearing Texans hoodies with their Burnley hats. And I'm fascinated. How does that feel, JJ, to know that you bring in American supporters to this team, to this club, into this community, what you're building from the United States?
It's incredible. And that one blew my mind because it was complete, absolute coincidence. I mean, I had just decided that I was going to that match because of my schedule. I decided the week before. So I knew 1 week ahead of time that I was going to be at that match. And then when I got off the plane and got to Turf Moor, our head of security was like, hey, you're never going to believe this, but we randomly have a group of 160 fans from Texas here. And he was like, do you want to see him? I was like, hell yeah, I want to see him. Like, and they were all wearing Texans gear. They were just there. They had no idea I was going to be there. They just went to watch the match. And that was such a cool, crazy crossover for my mind to try and comprehend. Like I'm in Burnley in England and there's Houston Texans fans. And I am from a small town in Wisconsin. I played like it was this whole cycle that I went through. Like, I can't believe I got to play for the Houston Texans in the NFL. Now I can't believe I get to be the owner of a Premier League club. And I'm also, these worlds are colliding. It was incredible. And then over here in America, every time we have a match, the text messages that come in from people that I had no idea would ever watch, a Premier League match. And then you get the Twitter and Instagram and everybody messaged me on game day and talking after we score a goal, everybody telling me like, it is the coolest thing ever. And it's so much fun. And despite the struggles we've had, which we've been going through some struggles, people still tune in every week. And I'm so appreciative and thankful for everybody who follows along with us.
If someone, by the way, has just discovered this sport, who's just found their way to the Premier League from the United States, asks you why they should support Burnley, why they should order that Jack Cork home kit, I guess they're asking, what would you tell them?
It's easy to support a Big Six club. I mean, it is. Yes, you can follow a Big Six club, and you're going to have some incredible times, and you're going to see a lot of wins, and you're going to possibly win some trophies and play in European ball, and you're also going to be supporting a massive club, which is great. I never want to discredit other clubs because every club has history, every club has tradition. All I'm saying is that Burnley is a small town with extremely hardworking people, with extremely passionate people who care so deeply and are invested so deeply in their club. And they've been through a lot. They've been through some very difficult times in their history. But the one thing that gets them through it all is their football club. And they love that club, and they show up and they support that club no matter what, through thick and thin. Whether we're winning, whether we're losing, they support that club. And if you want to be a part of a fun ride and something that's going to be crazy, and are we going to finish in the top 6 this year? Unfortunately, no, we are not. But we are going to have a hell of a time, and we are going to continue to fight. It would have been very easy after our early run of games for our players to just kind of have a woe is me attitude, to go through a difficult time. But we fight. Like, that's what we do. We are Burnley. We fight. We scrap. We claw. We find a way. And you can see our players. The belief is growing. The confidence is growing. James Trafford had a rough start to the season, and yet he just played one of the best games of goalkeeping that I've seen in a very long time. Like, our players are gaining and growing, and I think the project is going to be a lot of fun to watch, and I think you should be on board with it.
Let's dive into this. You talk about the struggles, the challenges. Burnley's Premier League return has been filled with them. But what's the experience been like for you watching this team leap from the Championship, which frankly they soared through, to the unromantic buzzsaw, just the clinical, unrelenting, just powerhouse that is the Premier League? The gap quality-wise, is it like watching the jump for you, or that you experienced from college ball to the NFL?
Yeah, obviously you watch us perform so incredibly well last year in the championship, and it's hard not to let your mind wonder what could be next year in the Premier League. And I'm very well aware of the difficulty level of it, but you see Vince perform at that level, you see the players perform, and then you add significant investment in the transfer window, and you start to, like, all right, maybe we got something special here. And then you come out of the gate. Obviously, we start with Man City, and that's possibly the best team in the world. And you lose 3-0, but you're still encouraged. And then we go through a tough run. I mean, we went through a very tough run, and there's no denying that it has not gone how we wanted it to. But the thing that I will say is we're continuously seeing improvement. The results lately are starting to show what is possible, and the players are starting to understand the system. And Vince has always been extremely adamant about the system takes time to learn, the chemistry takes time to build, and once it does, then it really takes over. And that proved last year, and it's starting to prove now.
JJ, you've been on teams where you are undoubtedly playing your absolute hearts out as individuals, but the wins just are not coming. What's it like in training, in the changing rooms, when a team is going through a rough, unforgiving period like that? Who do you expect to step up or to speak up in those moments?
It 100% comes down to the belief that you have, and if you believe in the process. Because I've been a part of each kind. I've been a part of where you're kind of looking around and you're like, all right, I truly don't know if, whether it's the coaching, whether it's the players, like, I don't know if we can do this. And then there's other times where you're like, yes, we may be struggling right now, but we are 100% on the right path. We just have to keep going and keep clicking. And I think that's what our guys know and understand right now. They know that Vincent has a great plan. They know that he is executing that plan, and they know that they have great players, and that they just have to continue staying the course, and that over time the results will follow.
I want to relive some of the moments that you've mentioned. The Turf Moor, the West Ham game, at the 49th minute, Jay Rodriguez penalty, that 1-0 lead over David Moyes and West Ham. You were there, as you mentioned, in the cricket field stand. Take us into that moment.
Oh, it was incredible. I went into the stand for the second half of the match. Like, I just really wanted to experience that. I really wanted to see what that was like, and to be with our supporters. So I went in the stand in the very 49th minute. The first thing that happens is we get the penalty, and Jay puts it in. And I mean, just pure elation. I mean, when I was on the flight over, it was a 10, 11 hour flight over. All I was thinking was, like, man, if we can just pull this one out, we can really start to turn some things around and have some fun, and it would be cool to be there for that moment. And then we put in the goal, and I'm like, it's happening. It's all happening. And everybody's going nuts. Like, we're high fiving. There's little kids around me. They've been singing the song. These 7, 8-year-olds are cussing at the opponents, like at the fans in the away stand. It is just the madness of European football. So it was incredible. And I on the flight over, I was very adamant about learning the songs, and I wanted to be able to sing the songs with them. So I was singing the songs. We were doing it was magic, man. And then we get to the 85th minute, and they put one in.
The Hammers equalise. As you say, I love how you're driving us into the darkness. This is, by the way, this is proof of the real fan you become. You don't want to dwell on the happy moments. You want to plummet and relive with me the darkness. And it doesn't get much more dark than this. 86 minutes. This is a man who's just flown the 11 hours direct from Phoenix to Burnley. That flight, which has now been established. Mohamed Kudus cross, cruel deflection off poor Burnley defender Dara O'Shea, past 21-year-old Clarets keeper James Trafford. And less than 5 minutes later, first minute of added time, midfielder Thomas Souček, heartless bastard, quite possibly amped up on the old pre-match potato salad, scored the winner for West Ham. A total dagger. JJ, when a match doesn't go Burnley's way, and that one really didn't go Burnley's way, cruel, just the storyline just cheating you. Whether you're at home or you're there in person at Turf Moor, how does it affect you?
So I can break this one down very clearly because I remember my emotions so clearly. So we're up 1-0, 1-0. Sorry, they hate it when I say 0, 1-0. And they put the first goal past. It deflects off Dara and it goes in. So it's 1-1. Place is stunned, silent. I'm standing there in the cricket field stand, and I'm trying to convince myself. I'm like, okay, 1-1. I'm trying to get myself to be like, if I went into today and you told me the result was going to be 1-1, I'd be like, okay, we'll take the point. At that point, we really needed the point. So I was like, we'll take the point. So I started to convince myself. I started to be like, all right, this is fine. This is fine. Let's just hold this. Let's keep this result. This is okay. Maybe we'll pull off another one and win 2-1. And then as I'm doing that, as I'm like just starting to come around and be like, all right, 1-1, 90th minute, like, okay, just see it out. 1 point. I got over here. We got to draw. Boom. The other one goes in, and man, you're just like dagger straight to the heart. And just now I'm obviously I'm in the stand. These fans are sauced up, and like I'm the owner, and they were great about it. Like they were being real like, gosh, this is football, don't you? Like you gotta love it. Like this is football. It's heartbreaking. But then there's that one guy that's just like, what the fuck are we doing? Like, go tell the manager this, go tell the man. And I'm like, hey. Like the only saving grace I have is that I'm 6'5", 280. Like,
yeah, I was going to say,
nobody,
if you were Doug Flutie in that moment, it could have gone very different.
Yeah. So people like nobody's saying too much. Like the guy that's yelling at me is yelling from like 7 rows back because he knows he can't get to me. So, but everybody was great about it. They thanked me for coming out, and they said like this is Burnley football. It's the ups and the downs. So
what can you do to shake those feelings off?
That one for me was fascinating because I was there. So I went and sat with Vince for literally 2 or 3 hours after the match. We went in the manager's room. We sat there and we talked a little bit about the match. We talked about some of the points, the highs and the lows of the match. We talked about our players, and then we started to talk about other things just because he's going through it too. Like it's a lonely place for a manager to be also, you can only talk with your management team so much. So then we started just talking life, started talking ball. We started talking NFL and family. And I think that's what helped us get through it is like, we've both been in similar situations before, and so we can relate to each other. And I thoroughly enjoyed that 2 or 3 hours after the match where it was just us hanging out.
You beautifully described it afterwards on Twitter. You said to get to ride the waves and enjoy the highs, you also have to enjoy the agony and take it on the chin when you fail. And one of the waves you've written, like some kind of Laird Hamilton of Lancashire, week 14, first match of December, when Burnley absolutely defenestrated Sheffield United. Jay Rodriguez scored in the first minute. Bit Dyche ball, that goal, to be honest. 4 different players added goals as the Clarets just crushed, cruising to their biggest win of the season. What did that feel like emotionally as a complete and utter release? What sticks with you longer after the final whistle? The beauty or the beast, the wins or the losses?
Oh, that was a beautiful one. I will never. I remember just sitting on the couch because I was at home here in Arizona watching that one with Kaylee and Koa, and I just sat there on the couch and looked at Kay, and I was like, "This feels good. Like this is because we haven't had them this year, but I was like, this is what it's supposed to feel like. Like you just enjoy it. You want to just turn it back on and rewatch the game from the very start and watch it all over again because it was beautiful. Our players played at such a high level, so many different scorers, so many different ways we scored. It was just that was that moment where you're like, we do have it in us. Like that is what we can look like when we're performing at our best. And I understand it was against a team also in the bottom of the table with us, but regardless, you win a match 5-0 in the Premier League. That's a hell of a win, and it was great.
In addition to that victory, when Burnley were at their best, what are the positives that you've glimpsed from the team this season?
I think our spirit and our resilience is certainly the thing that sticks with me the most. I mean, like I said, James is our keeper. James
James
Trafford has
Trafford,
gone through
21-year-old, arrived from Man City for $23 million.
like he went through some very tough times early in the year, and the supporters were tough on him. People have been tough on him at times, and yet all he does is keep going out there week after week and showing up and performing. And those are the moments you're proud of because it would be so easy for a young guy like that to see a criticism and to fall victim to it and to just go into a hole. But he's rising up to the occasion. And I think so many of our guys are starting to do that and are starting to build that mentality. And it takes time and it takes a long time and it takes a lot of mental fortitude to overcome some difficult results in the beginning, and I think it's really going to pay off for us. I mean, I was looking at the table yesterday. We still have 22 matches left. Like, it is a very, very long season. And yes, we would love to have more points than we have right now. But there are 22 matches left. And the way that we're playing, if we can continue to improve at the rate that we are, I really believe that this second half of the season is going to be great.
I mean, JJ, it is a marathon, and not all of us are going to finish it, but guaranteed all of us will end with a nasty case of runner's nipple. But one player that we both admired, fearless speedster, 19-year-old winger, Luca Koleosho, joined Burnley from Espanyol over the summer. Maybe, maybe the best thing to come out of Norwood, Connecticut since Pepperidge Farm Goldfish. Gent has just suffered a knee injury against Wolves that will keep him excruciatingly sidelined for several months. Manager Vincent Company said he may not play until, quote, the end of the season. But first of all, can we just marvel together at what a talent, fearless, audacious talent Luca is?
He's incredible. He's so much fun to watch. He's so young, like it's incredible. And but his speed, the speed that he has, and the work ethic that he has is special, and it's so much fun to watch. I mean, every single time he gets on the ball, you just know something's going to happen. Either he's going to run right past somebody, or he's going to earn a foul, or he's going to get a corner out of it. He's going to get something out of the play, and man, it is his speed just blows you away.
And the agony, the loss for him, as a kid, massive serious injury at that age. During your NFL career, you had to work through so many lengthy injuries. You once said that, quote, anyone who would tell you that every day of your recovery is good is a liar. Do you have advice for young Luca in this moment about what it takes to get through a serious injury?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I mean, the first thing I did after I saw it was reach out and let him know if there's anything I can do to help, because obviously, sadly, I have been through it. But my advice is always to remember what you're working towards despite the difficult times, because you are going to go through difficult times. There's going to be days where you're down or you're depressed, or you're watching all your teammates go out to practice and you're sitting there on the training room table. Um, you just have to remember that this too shall pass. And I always like to say, minor setback for a major comeback. And I think that you just have to take it one day at a time. You have to try and do everything you can to get yourself back fully healthy. And then you overcome adversity and you become great. And he's going to do that. He's going to be an incredible player. He's going to overcome this and he's going to be great again. And I can't wait to see him on the field. And we're very fortunate right now to have a guy step in his place, and Wilson Odobert, who I mean, he put together a brilliant goal, and he's a 19-year-old himself. So I mean, we're replacing Luca with a 19-year-old that was also playing incredibly well. So we're fortunate in that aspect.
I love that minor setback for a major comeback. That is a way to live life. But Luca Koleosho is eligible for many nations. One of the most fascinating footballing journeys in the modern period, currently playing youth football for Italy, but very much US men's national team eligible. Have you had any conversations with Luca about the United States eligibility? And if you were to ask you, what would you say to him?
This is a conversation that comes up on Twitter quite often from American fans because they know everybody wants Luca to come back to America and be part of the U.S. men's team. I have not personally had that conversation with him yet. I'm not opposed to having it. I'm very conscious of making sure that he understands who I am and what I'm about first before I try and have any sort of influence on his life
Well,
that he's lived his whole life.
do you think any part of you, JJ, does not scream America? I think he's probably got that. Do you want to role
I think,
play with me? I'll be Luca, and
yeah,
you role play with me.
no,
I'll be like JJ.
uh,
What will I've got so many options? Which team should I play for?
well,
Tell me, JJ. What should my international future be?
Well, everybody, Luca, let me tell you this. Everybody, the brightest experts in the world, all the people on Twitter who obviously know better than anybody else, have told me that you should play for America. So you definitely should. No, my pitch to him would be, I mean, just think about how incredible and how special it would be to play for your home country, to represent your home country and to be able to do something special and to help, kind of shepherd that next wave in of what could be. And we have Olympics and we have World Cup coming to our country in the next, 5 years or so. There's going to be some incredibly exciting times in American football coming up, and you can help be a catalyst for even more growth of this game. And wouldn't it just be fun? You can go back to Connecticut, you can have some New Haven pizza, and you could every international break, you're where you want to be.
Oh, Luca,
As
if you do
and then
it,
I just remembered if he's going to Italy, like I just said American pizza's
oh,
better.
I've got
Yeah,
to tell
I
you,
mean,
I'll double down on that. Anything that comes out of Sal's, a pizza is like there compared to
yeah.
what you can get in Italy. Come join the Ricardo Pepe hype train. We're all on it. JJ, your roommate at Wisconsin, Louis Nzegwu, once said that you used to write a list of your goals for the day on a whiteboard in your room on a daily basis. I do the same, mostly try not to be crap or don't have an Everton related emotional breakdown today. If you had to write 2 or 3 goals for Burnley for the rest of the season, what would they be?
Anybody involved in the club would tell you that we want to improve our defensive efforts, and I think that we have recently, and that's something that we want to continue is to continue improving on the defensive side of the ball. And then I would say minimizing mistakes. Like I think that we have to minimize mistakes. There's so many matches this year where we are playing very, very good football, and we are playing. Um, we are in games, and we certainly have chances to take points. And then it's one mistake. It may be a mental mistake, it may be a physical mistake, or we're making this one error that ends up costing us a match and costing us points. So I think that that is probably the thing that I would say most is just finding a way to minimize those critical errors, which is easier said than done. And it's always hard for me to sit here, especially as an owner now, when I was a player. Like if the owner came in and told me, "Hey, JJ, maybe don't jump off sides on that play," we would have had a win. I would have said, "Yeah, no, dumbass." I wasn't. Like you think I wanted to do that? Like that, I wasn't trying to. So for me to tell a defender like, "Hey, that heavy touch that then turned into a turnover, that then turned into an easy goal. Maybe don't do that." Like, yeah, the guy's going to look at me and say, "Yeah, no shit." Like, okay. Like, so those are the times where I just have to sit back and be like, yeah, I guess, we are athletes. Sometimes we do make mistakes, but I would say minimizing mistakes would certainly be advantageous to us.
What gives you the most optimism?
The most optimism by far is our manager, the Vincent Company. Like I do truly believe he's a brilliant mind. I do truly believe he's a motivator of men, and I do believe he knows how to get the best out of our squad. I think that he is, as this season is going along, I think he is learning and growing with our team in the Premier League and understanding exactly what it takes to compete at this level and adjusting his style as such. I think there was obviously a certain style that we played in the championship that worked extremely well, and he's now trying to adapt and flow that into the Premier League level and the competition level just you have to play a different way, and you can still do a lot of the things that you want to do, but you do have to weave in certain things that allow you to compete at this level. And I think that he's learning that along the way, and he's doing a good job of working that in. So that's what makes me the most optimistic is our manager and his abilities.
Last question for you, JJ, and I think probably the most important one of all. 6 months plus you've been visiting Burnley now, walking the streets, feeling that crisp air flow in from the River Calder, debating whether to enter the next beer pong tournament at the Royal Dyche. Here it is. Are Hafner's pies still the best you've ever had?
They are phenomenal. They are phenomenal. I truly enjoy it. I made the mistake. So when I ordered my first one, they asked if I wanted mushy peas or not. And I mean, I'm not a big mushy peas guy. Like, it's just a fact. I'm
Never,
sorry.
never.
Um, but so I said no. And then I immediately taught myself, no, you say yes. You take the mushy peas, you put the sauce, the gravy on, and you do it how they do it. And so I thoroughly enjoyed it. I love a good Hafner's pie. Um, I love Burnley, man. Like it, people give it shtick, and I've told you this multiple times. Like Burnley is in rolling hills in northern England. It is a beautiful scenery. Like I don't know what people want. I don't know what they're used to or what they expect. But when I pull up to Burnley and I go and stay out in the countryside and then I pull into town for the match, I truly, thoroughly enjoy and love that place. And I look forward to going when I go. And um, the people, the town, the little intricacies of it, the way that everybody in Burnley just doesn't know that the letter Y exists. They turn every EY into EH. It's always just Burnley. Like anything you want to say, like, are you going to go to the game early? Like just the letter Y does not exist there. So I'm learning the dialect and all of it, and I love it, man. I love it.
God, I don't know what the secret of life is either, JJ. I've got to be candid, but I would bet money on the fact it can be found somewhere inside. Oh, a Hafner's steak and claret pie.
Nothing like it, man. Nothing like a good warm pie on a cold day. It's special, and I get it. It's not for everybody, but it's for us, and I love it up there. And there's some damn good stuff going on in Burnley. We're gonna have some fun finding our way.
JJ, to you, to your family, to your incredible club.
Thank you, sir. Up to Clarets.
Courage.